Welcome to Believers Talk with Joe and Steve. I am your host. My name is Joe. And in this edition of Believers Talk, we want to give you a recap of the last game, which was preseason week 2, the Buffalo Bills at Cleveland Browns, a game where the Bills won 19-17. But obviously in the preseason, that is not the name of the game here. The name of the game here is to get your reps in and to stay away from injury. Unfortunately, that didn't happen in this game. But before we do that, however, if you have not already subscribed to Believers Talk, please be sure to do that. We will be giving you recaps of all the games of the upcoming season. We will be giving you some pregame, getting you ready for the games, and we will do live play-by-play during the games as well. So if you are unable to catch the game, or if you just want to chat with some Bills fans, you can come on here. We can chat. We'll have a good time. We tried to do that with this last game. Unfortunately, where I'm located, for some odd reason, the Bills game was not on NFL Network as they promised me it would be. So we were unable to do that. We did get on here. We had a nice time, 3 hours of just chatting back and forth. It was a good time. But this Sunday, we play the Bengals. It will be on Fox, so I know I'll get that one. And I will be live streaming that as well. So if you are a Bills fan and if you want to chat with other Bills fans, just come on to this channel during the game. We will be live streaming commentary and reaction. So if you haven't already subscribed, like or dislike this video along with all the other ones, hit the notification bell that's somewhere along the bottom here. And also like us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, or vice versa, however that works. But in this episode, we are going to recap the Cleveland Browns game. Again, won by the Buffalo Bills 19-17. First, we'll talk about the quarterback position. Obviously, the biggest news, again, we did not avoid the injury bug. A.J. McCarron goes down with an injury. Originally thought to be a hairline fracture of the collarbone. However, he got a second opinion today, and it came out that that's not a hairline fracture. Kind of confusing how you can mistake that, how you can see something that's not there. The good news for A.J. McCarron, possibly good news for the Bills. Not sure, however, because A.J. McCarron really hasn't been playing all that well. Went 3 for 6 for 12 yards, most of that before the injury, and just didn't play well. Now, a lot of that you could say was due to the lack of an offensive line. The offensive line did not help him much in this game, not giving him much time to throw the ball. However, this is the same offensive line that just a week ago Nathan Peterman played really well with. So take that for what it is, I guess, because we need to see more from A.J. McCarron. Because even week 1, he didn't play that well. Out of the 3 quarterbacks, we would probably say that he was the least effective. But after A.J. McCarron, Josh Allen came into the game. Was very effective, actually. Scored on 3 of his 4 series, or he led to scoring drives. 1 touchdown to Rod Streeter for 2 yards, and then 2 field goal drives that put us up 13-7. So he led us on 3 scoring drives after A.J. McCarron led us to 3 straight 3-and-outs. So a big difference there. And then when Josh Allen came in, he was with the 1s for some of it, and then he switched to the 2s during that time. And then Nathan Peterman, of course, came in, 80% completion percentage. Everyone's still talking about how amazing he's looked so far this preseason. You know, again, great completion percentage through both games. He threw for a touchdown in this game as well. He's looked really good now with the 1s and 3s. It's going to be really interesting to see how they play in week 3 against Cincinnati. We found out today that Josh Allen will be the starter. We'll talk more about that when we preview the Cincinnati game. But it's just going to be interesting to see how they work that out. Does A.J. McCarron even get to play now? We don't know yet, but it'll be really interesting to see that. Staying on the offensive side of the ball, Marcus Murphy had another great game. Not only did he run the ball well again, but he also had a nice 37-yard punt return or kickoff return that really gave us good field position on that drive, and led to, I believe, a score in that drive as well. So that's something really to look at. I think a lot of us believe that Marcus Murphy has worked his way into that number 2 role instead of Chris Ivory, bumping Chris Ivory down to the 3 slot and possibly dropping Travaris Cadet off the 53-man roster altogether. So we'll have to see what happens there. Obviously, McCoy's our number 1. That's not going to change. Chris Ivory is there. And as Steve told us in the last episode, all of his money is guaranteed. So there's no benefit to cutting him, so we might keep him. Might as well keep him, I should say. But then we got that battle for Marcus Murphy, Travaris Cadet, and Keith Ford all kind of fighting. Keith Ford looked decent in this game. He didn't look good. He didn't show any flashes like Marcus Murphy did, but he didn't look terrible. So he might be a solid player as well. But Marcus Murphy kind of gives us that little extra flash in the special teams game as well. Not only him, but they had Clay back there, Kalen Clay, returning some kickoffs and punts. So it'll be interesting to see if he makes it as like maybe a wide receiver 6 option. But let's talk about the wide receivers as well. We did get to see Zay Jones in this game, so it's good to see him back. He only had 1 completion for about 7 yards, I believe it was. But it's just good to see him back in the game, getting some reps in. And then we saw Coleman in the game. Again, he only had 1 reception as well, but it's also good to see him in the game, just so he can get more used to the offense. And as he progresses, he will get more and more used to the offense. We'll see more of him probably coming in week 3 and then going into the regular season. So that's looking pretty good. I'm actually really impressed with the way our wide receivers have looked. I mean, you talk about Kelvin Benjamin. Obviously, that first game played really well. Zay Jones will be coming out of the slot. Coleman will be our number 2, burning down the sideline. And then you're looking at either Curley or McLeod, maybe Austin Prohl, who had a decent game, fighting for that 4th receiver spot, maybe 5th receiver spot, and then maybe a Kalen Clay in there as a special teams guy. You got Streeter as well. So there's a couple names out there who can make the team. I don't think this receiving core is looking as bad as what some people were projecting at the beginning of training camp. I actually think it's looking pretty good, so that should have Bills fans very excited. We just need to find out who that quarterback is to mesh with those wide receivers. And with the tight ends, as we were watching this past game, one of our fans commented on here. It's good to see us using our tight ends a little bit more, and it is. We have some really solid tight ends. We have Charles Clay, who had his best season under Dable when they were with Miami. So maybe there's that connection there. So hopefully we'll use him a little bit more. You have Nick O'Leary, who had a big touchdown catch. I don't know if it was a blown coverage or what happened there, but it was like a 39-yard touchdown to O'Leary. And then you have a little bit of a battle between Logan Thomas and Lee, and some other guys in there whose names are escaping me at the certain time, but they've been playing pretty well. Kroom's been playing pretty good as well. So there's a couple tight ends there who might make the roster. We're not sure. I do like Logan Thomas. Big fan. If you have watched these shows, if you watched my tight end breakdown, you know that I like Logan Thomas. But Lee has played well. Kroom has played well. So I wouldn't be too upset if I see one of them, take over his roster spot. And kind of step up into that role. That'd be kind of cool. Offensive line, still some trouble there, guys. We still, I believe personally, that's our biggest concern currently on this team is our offensive line. We need to figure out what we're doing with that offensive line. We're basically down two and a half starters, I'll say. I mean, obviously we didn't use Cordy Glenn much last year. But without Rich Incognito, without Eric Wood, Groy's filling in nicely, I think, and I don't mind him being the starter there. I think he fills in kind of nicely. I know he was the starter in Buffalo not too long ago when Eric Wood was out, but yeah, it's just that left tackle position, or the left guard position. I'm sorry, tackle. Just not sure about that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think McDermott and Dable will get something worked out before the beginning of the season. I know it seemed like in the first game, Peterman did have a little more time than McCarron did. So hopefully we can get some kinks worked out and see some improvement in this 3rd week. But that's it for the offensive side of the ball. I think our offense overall played decent. Again, I do like the way our wide receivers are progressing. Obviously, with McCoy on the field, that's going to open up some more lanes for others too. So that's going to make a difference. We did get to see a little bit of McCoy, but not too much, which is exactly what I wanted. And I know Steve and I both agree on that. But that's pretty much it for the offense. Not too bad. It'll be interesting. Again, the quarterback position still a big battle there. But moving on to the defensive side of the ball, unfortunately, we had an offensive injury. We also had a defensive injury. Kyle Williams. Big fan of Kyle Williams. He got hurt was seen with an air cast on his leg as he was leaving the stadium after the game. Found out later that he did not tear his ACL, but also Sean McDermott called him week to week. And if you know anything about the NFL, week to week is not something you want to hear. Day to day is better, but week to week means this will be an extensive injury. Whether that means it's like 3 or 4 weeks and he'll be back at, week 2 or 3 of the season, or whether it means a little bit longer, we're not sure. But you know how the coaches are; they kind of try to keep things under the radar. However, come the start of the season, they are going to have to list something on the injury report, right? They cannot refuse to list someone on the injury report, and they cannot misdiagnose an injury on purpose on an injury report. So it'll be interesting to see what the injury is listed as and how he's listed going into the regular season. Defensive line, I think our defensive line had a lot of trouble again. Man, that first drive was rough to watch, was rough to even look at. The Cleveland Browns ran for 60 yards against us on the first drive alone. That's a little rough, if you ask me. I don't want to see that. Makes the running numbers at the end of the game look a lot bulkier than they should have been just because of that first drive. Tyrod Taylor did not look that good. However, he did not have to when you're handing the ball off. I think he only had four pass attempts in like the 3 or 4 drives he was in there, because when you keep handing the ball off and you have Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson Jr. just running up and down the field, there's no need to start throwing the ball. So, and it's sad because we still have those great corners and we still have those great safeties, but if we cannot stop the run, that's not going to matter, because that's what teams are going to do. And then we'll have to start cheating our safeties in. Maybe our corners will have to start cheating, and that's when you get beat. So I really hope our run defense gets better. Tremaine Edmonds needs to stay in his lane a little bit more, and be patient. Be patient. You saw plays where he just ran straight to the hole or straight to the gap, and then the running back Carlos Hyde went the other way. And we need a guy who's patient. We don't always need these tackles for losses. They're great on the stat sheet and they look good, and it's always nice to start behind the team behind the chains. But when you miss that read, all of a sudden you're giving them a first down or 5-6 big yards that just we can't afford to give them on every single down. So obviously still like our secondary looked good. I think Hyde almost had an interception. I think overall that was pretty good. Vontae Davis looked a lot better in this game than he did in the previous game. Our edge rushers looked okay. We didn't get to the quarterback. I think a lot of our sacks this year will be coverage sacks, obviously. Again, not sure how our defensive ends are going to do. But we do have a constant rotation in there, and I think the freshness will come in handy late in games. You won't see it in the preseason because you're changing your offensive line just as much as you're changing your defensive line to get other guys with reps. But when push comes to shove and the season starts, when that offensive lineman's been in there for 3 quarters, the defensive end that's in the game, coming into the game, was lasted in the first quarter, or maybe played a couple plays in the second quarter, and he's fresh. There's going to be a big difference there, and maybe we can get some more pressures on the quarterback that way. I hope so, because I think we really need to get pressure on that quarterback. We were one of the last in the leagues in quarterback sacks last year, and we need to improve on that if overall we want defense to improve. I've said it before, some of you have agreed with me, I believe the Bills can have a top 10 defense, possibly a top 5. But in order to do that, we need to get some pressure on the quarterback. We had a lot of turnovers last year, especially towards the first half of the year. I would love to see us duplicate that, but you can't always count on turnovers. Sometimes these turnovers are just right place, right time. And I'm not saying that's the case with all the turnovers from last year, but a couple of them were that way. So we'd really like to see our defense step up. So that way we would be able to get off the field faster. Need to see that offense be able to keep drives going, so that way it's not always 3 and out, defense back on the field. Talked a little about special teams. We did see, like I said, we saw Murphy back there return some kicks and punts. We saw Cannon Clay back there return kicks and punts. That's obviously been a big question mark for the start of the season with us giving it a Tate or not re-signing Tate. So that continues to be battle. We'll look out in week 3 to see see exactly what happens there, who cements himself as the starter, whether it be Marcus Murphy, or maybe we want to keep Marcus Murphy as our number 2 back, and so we want to keep him as fresh as possible, so we put Kalen Clay back there. Or we have used our number 2 running back before when we had CJ Spiller. He was our kick return punt returner as well. So maybe we use him in that role still. I don't know. Still a lot of questions. Week 3 is coming up against Cincinnati. That's going to be this Sunday. I think that game is in Buffalo. So if you can't watch the game, or if you want to come on here, I will have the game on, and I will be giving live play-by-play and reaction. We had a lot of fun this past Friday, so I'm looking forward to that again. And then going into the regular season, September 9th, we will be here for that live reaction, play-by-play show. We're looking forward to it against Baltimore. We cannot wait. But that's pretty much it for the recap of the Cleveland Browns game. Again, Cleveland loses to Buffalo 19. I said the score before. Now I'm drawing a blank. 17-13, 19. I don't know. 19-17? 19-17, I think. But yeah, Bills win. It's the first win of the preseason. Again, we don't care so much about that. Big news was A.J. McCarron, who now seems to be healthier than first stated. It does not seem to be a hairline fracture. And then Kyle Williams both get hurt in this game. Hopefully not too serious. Hopefully we'll see them both at the start of the regular season. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, this might set A.J. McCarron back even further in the quarterback competition. And then maybe gets Harrison Phillips some more reps, gets him in there maybe a little bit faster than we wanted to, but I think he's ready enough for the task. Love me some Kyle Williams. I love me some Harrison Phillips. So I look forward to seeing them in action. So that's it. Like I said, from here, if you have not subscribed already, please subscribe to Believers Talk. We will be on here constantly, pregame, postgame. We have our prediction show coming out right before the start of the season here. We have a lot of good stuff coming out for you, a lot of good content, and we will constantly keep you updated, whether it be injury news, player trades, ads, drops. That's going to come up too. We have to get our 90-man roster down to 53 at the end of that 4th preseason game. So you'll probably see a little bit more of us on here at that time as well. But we'll see. We'll see. I think that 53-man roster is beginning to shape up a little bit. Liking what we're seeing from Buffalo. Go Bills. Here we go. That's it from here. So join us next time. But till then, go Bills.